She wasn't going to speak, but somehow she just had to. Meghan Markle hijacks another moment, turning Harry's event into her own personal TED Talk. False humility, emotional manipulation, and classic narcissistic tactics. Let's break down exactly what's happening here. We haven't even gotten to the opening ceremony yet. Before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. At first glance, Meghan's speech at the Invictus Games seems like a simple, heartfelt moment, but when you really listen, it's a textbook example of performative narcissism, over-the-top emotion, image crafting, and subtle control over Harry's narrative. Today we're breaking down the manipulative tactics hiding in plain sight, from fake humility to carefully scripted storytelling.
Well, hello, you. Hi, everybody. How are we feeling? So I was not planning on speaking tonight, and
Okay, let's break it down. Point 1, the I wasn't going to speak move. This is false humility and attention seeking. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, Meghan says. This is a classic narcissistic trap, pretending they don't want attention while making sure all eyes are on them. A real life example of this could be your narcissistic coworker reluctantly taking credit for a team project, pretending they were just forced into the spotlight, with reluctantly in that statement being in quotation marks. A narcissistic friend who acts modest while steering every conversation back to their accomplishment. Or it could be a toxic parent who downplays their sacrifices but constantly reminds you of everything they've done for you. The key narcissistic trait here is performative humility, acting like they don't want attention while ensuring they get it.
we just arrived, I don't know, a couple hours ago, and I touched Canadian soil, and I went, oh, it feels like home.
The second, Meghan talks about how it feels like home. This is over-the-top emotional pandering. I touched Canadian soil and I went, it feels like home. Here, Meghan manufactures an emotional connection that doesn't actually exist. This is a manipulation tactic designed to make people feel closer to her. A real-life example of this could be you meet someone new, and within days they're saying, I feel like we've known each other forever. That's a red flag. It could be a new romantic partner who love bombs you by making dramatic emotional declarations too soon. It could be a narcissistic friend who constantly aligns themselves with causes or people they barely know, just to seem more likable. The key narcissistic trait here is fake emotional intensity to build instant trust and admiration.
We also recognize most of you are probably so exhausted from how much travel you've done.
The third thing Meghan says that caught my eye is, we recognize your efforts. This is a subtle power play disguised as empathy. She says, we recognize most of you were probably so exhausted. Rather than letting people experience their own feelings, narcissists frame the situation for them, positioning themselves as the authority on how others should feel. A real-life example of this could be a controlling boss who says, I know you're stressed, but trust me, you're lucky to have this job. It could be a narcissistic parent telling you how you feel instead of actually listening. It could be a manipulative partner who says, I know you're upset, but I think you're overreacting. The key narcissistic trait here is reframing reality in order to establish dominance.
We are just thrilled to be here, and I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone.
The next thing I noticed Meghan says starts with, I would be remiss. This is grandstanding before introducing someone else. She says, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to introduce someone who means a lot to me. Instead of simply introducing Harry, Meghan builds herself up first, making her role in the moment seem just as important as his. A real-life example of this could be a narcissistic boss who introduces a guest speaker by talking about how hard they worked to bring them in, making it about themselves. It could be a toxic friend who gives a toast at a wedding and somehow makes it about their own love life. Or a narcissistic parent who talks about their child's achievements but always mentions the sacrifices they made to get them there. The key narcissistic trait here is positioning themselves as a gatekeeper to someone else's success.
He wants to be there with you. He is in it with you.
Then Meghan makes an overly dramatic emotional appeal. She says he wants to be there with you, he is in it with you. This vague, dramatic language is a manipulation tactic. It's designed to elicit an emotional response without actually saying anything specific. A real life example of this could be a narcissistic friend who constantly says, "You know I'd do anything for you," but never actually follows through. It could be a manipulative partner who makes grand declarations about their love, but won't take real action to support it. And it could be a controlling family member who keeps reminding you how much they care about you to guilt trip you into compliance. The key narcissistic tactic here is making big emotional statements that sound meaningful but lack real substance.
All the moments where, as you know, with families, the big rush in the morning and getting ready for school and packing the lunch boxes and making breakfast, and my husband's in all of that with us.
The next thing Meghan does is create this, in quotation marks, the perfect dad image by telling a story to craft an idealized persona. She says, "Packing lunchboxes, making breakfast, my husband is in all of that with us." Instead of letting Harry's actual contributions speak for themselves, Meghan curates a perfect family image, a common narcissistic move. A real-life example of this could be a narcissistic parent who brags about their amazing parenting skills, but behind closed doors they're neglectful or controlling. It could be a toxic coworker who exaggerates how much effort they put into a project to get credit. And it could be a manipulative friend who posts about how grateful they are for you, but only when it benefits their image. The key narcissistic tactic here is controlling how people perceive them by carefully crafting their narrative.
And then he'll be on his phone and Archie will say, "Papa, why are you on your phone?" He's like, "Because it's Invictus. I'm getting ready for Invictus."
The next thing Meghan says is Harry's always working. This seems like a victim-hero narrative. Meghan says, "Then he'll be on his phone. Archie will say, 'Papa, why are you on your phone?' This paints Harry as a martyr, someone so dedicated to his cause that even his own child questions his work ethic. It's a carefully crafted victim-hero storyline. A real-life example of this could be a narcissistic coworker who complains about how overworked they are, but they're the ones creating unnecessary drama. It could be a toxic family member who makes a big deal about how much they sacrifice for others, but only to get validation and control. And it could be a manipulative friend who guilts you for not appreciating their hard work, even though they made the situation harder than it needed to be. The key narcissistic tactic here is playing both the victim and the hero to control the narrative.
I need you to know that. I need you to know how much it means to him and how much each of you means to him.
And the next thing I noticed was a statement she made that involves controlling someone else's narrative. She says, "I just need you to know how much it means to him." Why does Meghan need to tell people how much it means to Harry? He's standing right there. This is a classic control tactic, speaking for others to maintain dominance over their public image. A real-life example of this could be a narcissistic parent who speaks for their child instead of letting them answer for themselves. This could be a controlling boss who responds to a question meant for someone else just to assert authority. And it could be a manipulative partner who tells people how you feel even when it's not accurate. The key narcissistic tactic here is speaking on someone else's behalf to maintain power over their identity. So what's the final takeaway here? What are some narcissistic tactics that we see here that we can recognize in everyday life? Meghan's speech wasn't just a simple introduction. It was a calculated display of narcissistic manipulation. But these same tactics aren't just reserved for celebrities. They show up in toxic relationships, controlling family members, manipulative friendships, and workplace narcissist. If you've ever felt like someone was emotionally controlling a situation without you realizing it at first, chances are they were using tactics just like this. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and don't fall for the performance. So I'm curious to know what you all think about this. Do you agree with this analysis? Have you experienced anything like this in your own life? If you feel comfortable sharing, please do so in the comments. I do appreciate you listening. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. There's going to be so much more content coming out about what's happening at Invictus 2025. I mean, the opening ceremony hasn't even happened yet, and we have Meghan dropping this speech. Yeah, so I can't wait to analyze all of her behaviors and tie it back to manipulative and toxic behaviors we may see in our own lives. Thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye. If Valentine's Day with a narcissist feels more like an emotional obstacle course than a celebration of love, you're not alone. This day can be incredibly triggering for them, which means it often becomes painful for you. That's why I put together a guide called Surviving Valentine's Day with a Narcissist Protecting Your Peace. Inside, I break down why this holiday brings out their worst, the tactics they use, and most importantly, how you can protect your energy. There are also some journaling prompts and recovery strategies to help you process everything afterwards. You can grab it now on my Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.